Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. My name's Jim Carlin, I'm the Global Account Manager for BP here at Red Hat. The discussion today focuses on managed services in the hyperscaler cloud. In this specific example we're going to cover today, we're going to delve into BP's use of ROSA, Red Hat OpenShift and AWS to manage their journey to the managed service cloud. So joining us today to discuss their journey to ROSA are two senior executives from BP's Trading and Shipping division, Rid Tinkler and Emma McEwen. I'm now going to hand over to Waqas Kausar, who's the global architect here at Red Hat for BP, to take us through the discussion. Over to you, Waqas.
Thanks, Jim. Now, Rid, if you could just take us through a few points on a little bit about the business of trading and shipping within BP, where you found yourself at the start of last year and the situation you were in at that point, and the approach you took to migrating the applications over to ROSA.
Absolutely. No, thank you. So trading and shipping is what we call an integrator within BP. So it joins up the different parts of BP. And we work with our partners and the value chains, the energy chains within BP to move energy around the planet and sell it out to the market and keep secure supplies. So it's an integral part of what BP does. OpenShift 3.11 was where we were, and it runs most of the apps that trading and shipping use. So there's nearly 40 applications that reside on OpenShift. And where we found ourselves back in 2021 was looking at an end of service life issue out in 2023. With so many of our core applications being on the platform, we knew we had to move, we knew we had to upgrade. And as a result, we selected ROSA as our destination. And there were a couple of reasons for that. One, which it moved it to a managed service that was going to help us move along. It moved us more to a platform that was going to be more evergreen. But it wasn't just about the platform. Each of our apps had a number of components which also needed to be upgraded. So there was an awful lot of work that needed to be done, and it needed to be done in a way that was secure and safe for the business. So as we moved into that, we started to look at how are we going to structure the program. It's definitely something that we wanted Red Hat, your support with, all of your technical expertise. We wanted to move to a world where we could actually stay evergreen. And this is one of the key features that we liked about ROSA and actually looking at our cluster topology. Previously, everyone had been together in one cluster, which meant that to do an outage or to do a patch, we had to stop all the applications. As we've gone through this process, we've looked at how do we change that so that we can actually have less downtime. If we think about some of the key challenges as we set up the program, it was the size and scale, the business impact that we could have if it went wrong, and what we needed to ensure, figuring out how to resource this across all the teams. At the same time, the business is still moving. They want to keep doing their growth projects, and so how do we merge all of that together? So we created a joint team between Red Hat, Infosys, BP, each of us providing our knowledge, our sort of business knowledge, and then the horsepower in from the Infosys team to get through this. We had a very fixed endpoint that wasn't moving, so it's how do we do this? We then spent probably 9 months together working out what is that core platform that we would be deploying all of our applications onto, and we started with a single application, one of our smaller, lower risk applications, and we piloted that and then got into a engine-based approach. So in terms of we proved all of the requirements, all of the capabilities, and then got into the deployments. Yeah. As we went through the deployments, we've learned quite a lot. We've learned that not every app is the same. So one of the examples, if we think about AMQ messaging, it has configuration set up, which is dependent on the type of application that's using it. So as we started, we've had to evolve that cookbook or that recipe setup for the components to address the type of application. So a lot of work coming through. I'm excited to say we're getting towards the end of the journey. We should complete the last applications across in April this year, and still have 2 months before the end of life date. It's been a huge team effort across everyone, but it's also been quite a journey together.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Rid. So one thing I would like to ask about is your experience of working with Red Hat services. It looks like you're you're actually a little bit ahead of schedule, which is not often you hear about on a migration program, right? How important has the interaction with Red Hat services, our architects and consultants been for trading and shipping?
So it's been critical, if we're honest. They've been integral part of the team, but actually having that access to the deep brains, the real knowledge of how not just OpenShift 4, but equally ROSA, and how all those pieces fit together, that's been critical for our success. Having that upfront work, working it through, making sure all the pieces fitted together, and we worked through all the requirements. I think that's why the deployments have gone so well. So the first pilot went in, and we had the question from the business of, have you done it yet?
Yeah.
And that's actually where we want to be. But having your knowledge in there to make sure that we were looking at all of this. As we got into performance tuning, when we first started off, we were quite a long way away. But it was tune on tune, and the real brains from your architect side and from the ODF side, we're now much faster, and we'll talk about that when we get to the benefits section.
So Rid, could we talk now about the migration program and the challenges you found in executing that? And after that, I think we'll talk to Emma about the lessons learned and the benefits trading and shipping accrued from the move. I'm particularly interested in topics like the good apps and bad apps that you created, which was kind of started almost as an in-joke to look at the different types of applications, but it's actually driven really good behavior within the applications teams. So could you talk a little bit then about the approach to the migration?
Sure, and they're really good questions, and it does bring out that there's been quite a change journey as well as just a technical journey as we've gone into this. So picking up on your good apps, bad apps, as you say, it was something that where we were trying to say a good app is someone that can sit on a cluster and be patched and can basically restart, no downtime. A bad app is one where we need to stop the cluster, patch it. There was an awful lot of emotion that this triggered when we said, actually, you're a bad app and you're a good app. But it's actually started to change the behaviors of the team. Everyone would like to be a good app. And so we said, there's no stigma in being a bad app. It's just actually, this is how you're architected today. But this is the architecture requirements for a good app. Anyone who is a good app can now actually have a zero downtime. So this is really good for you, but you're not constrained. So once people got past their initial reaction to being called a bad app, they could see the reasons, the whys, but it's starting to put a focus on, we need to put some engineering or technical thought process into these set of apps to move them. Ideally, we want to get all our apps to be good apps, because that, from a operations perspective, just becomes much simpler. If I think through one of the other big mindset changes, as a regulated business, we've got to go through disaster recovery testing, and we've got to show that when we were running a single cluster in-house on our own servers, that meant that we had to stop the cluster, fail it across, start it up and everything. In a ROSA managed service environment in the cloud, that's a very different set of testing that we go through, because as nodes fail, they auto restart. So when the team tried it the first time, it was a bit like whack-a-mole. They kept stopping things, and they restarted and realized they couldn't fail across in the way they'd done before. So it required us to step back and rethink what is success out of those testings. So that was really good for the team as well. It also showed a whole new level of resilience that we didn't have before in the application. And then one final area that I would highlight on this change journey that we went through is the move from fully internal to a managed service, and then how does that impact the SLAs that the teams work with? And they've had to rethink that, also how we manage incidents, how that would go through the different teams and get them to work together. Happy to say that the process is working well, but it has changed where we want to take part, where we rely on Red Hat to play their part, and actually the skill sets and how the teams operate needed to be adjusted. We've had to operate in a hybrid state for 12 months. That's required the teams kind of taking one hat off and putting a different one on. As we're getting towards the end of this journey, we can now settle into that to be and really play our parts. That's been the other part of the change journey.
Thanks for taking us through that, Rid. We'll now turn to Emma to discuss the benefits of that ROSA has brought to the BP's trading and shipping business and the lessons learned during the migration program. Hello, Emma. Thanks for joining us. Could you take us through some of the benefits you found of using ROSA, maybe the expected ones that you were aiming for, and maybe some that were unexpected, and then take us through some of the lessons learned during the program?
Yeah, of course. And thanks for having me here today. So I think the key benefit that we've achieved is sustaining a really smooth migration journey. So migrating around 40 applications off OpenShift 3.11 onto ROSA, and some of our more complex integration components as well. And this has been no small undertaking. It's a program that's been running for almost 2 years, and where we are at the moment is we've migrated around 80% of our applications so far. And we are on track to complete our migration journey and decommission OpenShift 3.11 before the end of serviceable life deadline. And I think in large part the success of this migration journey has been down to a really good working relationship between ourselves at BP, Red Hat, and also our partners Infosys as well.
The applications you were dealing with here in the migration, these were business critical for BP?
Some of our applications were highly complex trading applications that needed to be migrated off 3.11 and onto ROSA. And as we've gone through the migration journey, we've surfaced some technical challenges that were unexpected along the way. And so through working closely with high quality architects and consultants from Red Hat, as well as our own technical teams and Infosys, we've been able to resolve these issues en route.
Are there any other benefits you can talk about?
Yes, our team's been operating the platform for almost a year now, and in that time we've seen that it is a stable platform with easy to install upgrades. Another key benefit that we are realising is, like all teams, we are driving forwards to reduce our OPEX where we can. And one mechanism that we've utilised to do this is working with Red Hat to review what our consumption patterns are on the platform and to obtain a private offer, which has enabled us to obtain a 55% reduction in our Red Hat subscription fees. And that's a great saving that we can pass on to our application teams.
And how important is understanding your cost management profile to BP?
Cost management is really important to us at BP. It enables us to view data that shows how our applications are working on the platform and what the cost is of operating those applications. And through taking that data, we can fine-tune our applications or the platform itself. And it really gives us two key benefits. The first is that we can help to reduce our carbon footprint, and the second is that in doing that, we can also reduce our OPEX.
Yeah, it's interesting we're seeing this across most of our large customers, a real focus on both OPEX, not necessarily reduction, but optimization and sustainability benefits through carbon reduction. So it's interesting that you're following the same pattern as your other peers in the industry.
If we have new applications, we can consider the operating cost of an application right at the outset. Otherwise, we're looking at our existing applications and what the opportunities are to re-architect those, redesign those in any way that could help us reduce our carbon footprint, reduce our cloud costs, and ultimately reduce our OPEX spend.
Were there any benefits that came out of your migration to ROSA that you weren't expecting?
The benefits I've mentioned so far, I think it's fair to say, were expected benefits at the outset. But throughout the course of the migration program, we have surfaced some unexpected benefits along the way as well. And this is mainly due to the open source nature of the platform and some of the capabilities that are available to us. Some examples are we have recently deployed Grafana as a service on the platform. And this has enabled us to give all of our application teams visibility of their CPU and memory usage. And this is data that they can use to fine-tune their application and ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, drive down their cloud costs, their carbon footprint, and reduce their OPEX.
And you mentioned Grafana specifically there, but I think there's other examples as well. These are capabilities built into the ROSA platform that you're just taking advantage of. They're already there. Been
taking the opportunity to educate ourselves recently with Red Hat with regards to what are the capabilities that are available to us on the platform and what benefits they may bring. One area that we're looking at the moment is potentially providing Jaeger on the platform, which would give us a sort of end-to-end distributed tracing solution across our whole tech stack. And one of the key benefits we're realising is that performance of our messages on the platform has improved, particularly looking at our large messages. We've seen throughput of those messages increase by 300% on the platform, which is a great position for us to be in.
And given this is a trading platform, messaging is absolutely critical.
The integration across our platform through our messaging system is critical to how we work.
So Emma, could you take us through some of the lessons you've learned on this migration journey?
I think the key lesson learned for us was around our metering solution that we're offering on the platform. This was critical to the service that we're offering as the platform team, and in hindsight it would have been helpful if we'd seen that product roadmap early on in the journey. It would have allowed us to assess what our requirements are against that product roadmap and determine what the best design was for our metering solution earlier on in the program.
Yeah, and I've seen that metering solution. It's quite a sophisticated solution now, leveraging the APIs that come out of the cost management platform. Emma, thanks for joining us today and sharing those insights.
Thank you, Wakas.
So just a few closing comments from me. First of all, a big thank you to both Red and Emma for walking us through what has been an amazing program of work over the last 18 months. Migrating 18 applications, live mission critical applications to a new service is no mean feat, so that is a great achievement. As the partnership between Red Hat and BP reaches its logical conclusion in terms of the migration phase of the project, we're now looking forward to new ways that we can work and innovate with BP. We will continue to drive optimization and OpEx reduction by leveraging the feature and functionality that's available via the ROSA service. This includes features such as auto-scaling, serverless and application monitoring. And we will look to assist BP in the adoption of other new technologies that are coming down the line, and these include HyperShift and Graviton from AWS. And we will also look to extend our program of continuous learning across the BP stakeholders in the service and their internal user community. So it just remains for me to say thank you for joining us today, and we hope you found value in today's presentation.